Hey everyone, it's Mr. Miles. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the assignment for Tuesday, March the 28th. Okay, so today's mission, you are going to be reading about Beowulf and the battle with Grendel's mother. Okay, because the story of Beowulf is easily broken down into kind of three sections. You've got the battle with Grendel, Grendel's mom, and the dragon at the end of it. Okay, so tomorrow we'll get to the dragon. Today, let's talk about Grendel's mother. So Grendel yesterday died. Okay, Beowulf ambushed him in Herat, ripped his arm off, and Grendel managed to escape back to his lair where he bled out and died. And so now Grendel's mom, who we have not really seen up until now, but we know that because Grendel is descended from Cain, the first murderer, we know that Grendel's mom is also a demon. She's also got demonic, cursed, Satan spawn lineage, genealogy. Um, so she's obviously upset that her son has been slain. Okay. And so she is going to challenge Beowulf, um, but in a way that takes the advantages Beowulf had. Okay. And subverts them, twists them. Okay. Because what happens is she's not going to directly challenge Beowulf. She's going to basically send him a message. So what she does is one night after Grendel has died, she goes back to Herat while everyone's asleep, and she basically abducts and kills Hrothgar's best friend, King Hrothgar from Denmark. She kills his best friend and takes her son's arm, which has been mounted on the walls as a trophy. She takes her son's arm back and she kills Hrothgar's best friend. And she basically tells Beowulf, hey, here's the trail leading to my lair. Come find me. All right. And so the problem that Beowulf now faces is that in the first battle with Grendel, he was fighting on home turf. He was fighting in Herat, right? Grendel was an invader coming to his place, okay? Now Beowulf doesn't have home field advantage. He's going to have to go to Grendel's mother's lair, and he's going to have to fight her, okay? Which obviously puts Beowulf at much more of a disadvantage. And you'll notice a slight difference here. Beowulf does not do the same thing with Grendel's mom that he did with Grendel. He wears armor for this fight. He takes a sword for this fight, okay? Because he knows that Grendel's mom is like 10 times as savage as Grendel was. Okay. If you've ever seen movies where, like, what a mama bear will do to protect her cubs, that's kind of like that situation, but just turn it into demonic hellspawn monsters. Okay. So that's essentially what the deal is here. And so Beowulf goes to this lair, this monster's lair. Okay. And he fights with Grendel's mom. And so in this section, you essentially get the overview of what happens in the fight with Grendel's mom. He dives down into a lake, and the lake is full of sea monsters. It's supposed to be a cursed lake, so it's just boiling with demonic energies, I guess. And he goes down to the bottom, and one thing that you'll notice is that it says that he sank for hours through the waves. He's an epic hero, so he can hold his breath for hours. Okay, he's awesome. And so he gets to the bottom, and there's like a cave, and so he goes into the cave, and that's where he finds Grendel's mother. And Grendel's mother attacks him. She tries to stab him. She tries to kill him, and she has the upper hand. Multiple times, she pins Beowulf to the ground, and she has like a rusty dagger, and she tries to stab him, but the dagger won't penetrate through his chainmail, and the chainmail is kind of little interlocking rings that you may see, interlocking rings that turn into really good armor. And you'll see like divers nowadays use this when like they're shark diving. Okay. Um, and so this chainmail that Beowulf wears is pretty strong and prevents, so like this, Grendel's mother from stabbing him with her dagger. And so he manages to get off the ground, get Beowulf or get Grendel's mom off him. And so he manages to get from off the ground where she's pinned him multiple times. And he tries to kill her with his sword, but he notices that the sword just kind of bounces off her. And that's when we learn that the reason that no warrior was able to ever kill Grendel except Beowulf is because Grendel had an enchantment on him that basically prevented any weapon forged by man from hurting him. So no bows and arrows, no swords, no spears, nothing could have hurt Grendel. The only way that Grendel could have been killed is if someone killed Grendel with his bare hands, which is exactly what Beowulf did. Now, Beowulf did not know that when he fought Grendel the first time. Beowulf was just doing it because he wanted to show that he could beat Grendel on an even playing field and that he was, pretty sure of his abilities as a warrior. He didn't know that this was actually the only way to defeat Grendel. And because obviously Grendel has this enchantment, Grendel's mother does as well. So Beowulf has this incredible sword called Hrunting, but it just bounces off Grendel's mom, and it doesn't work. Eventually, Beowulf realizes that there is a loophole, okay? Because the enchantment is no weapon forged by man. Well, fortunately enough for Beowulf, in this cave, there is a huge sword that was forged by giants. Okay. And giants are not technically men, they are giants. And that doesn't do a lot of us, me or anybody else who's a regular person, that doesn't do us a ton of good because we couldn't lift that sword anyway. Because he's Beowulf, he can lift that big old giant sword and he picks it up, swings it, kills Grendel's mom. Okay. So he takes the head of Grendel as like an even better trophy. Yeah, we had Grendel's arm. That's an okay trophy. I'm going to take this monster's head and I'm going to mount it on the wall. That's going to be awesome trophy. Okay. So he's got Grendel's head and he takes the giant sword with him. But Grendel's mother's blood like boils the blade off. And so all he's left is with the hilt. And so those are the two trophies he takes up to the top of the lake with him after the battle. And he shows them to Hrothgar and he's like, I won. Grendel is dead. Grendel's mother is dead. The land is safe again. Um, and so that's kind of the overarching gist of what happens here. Okay. Um, and obviously, Beowulf finding that sword and being the only one able to lift it. Beowulf choosing to wear the armor this time that saves him from Grendel's mother's dagger. Beowulf choosing to fight Grendel mano a mano, barehanded, no armor, no weapon, and that being the only way turns out to beat Grendel. Those are all examples of, depending on what your stance on the text is. If you're the monk writing it down, it's obviously an example of divine intervention. God was looking out for his warrior Beowulf. If you're a pagan hearing this story, then you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is obviously weird. It was not, it was not Beowulf's fate to die that day, and so fate intervened to save Beowulf. Or it could just be pure blind dumb luck. But either way, it's one of those options, okay? Because Beowulf just keeps kind of rolling good dice, okay, and saving himself in these situations. So whether that is God or destiny, weird, or just pure dumb luck, Beowulf just keeps coming up aces. So that's something to kind of file away and bear in mind as you read it as well. Is just keep looking out for the ways that either it's God or fate that is saving Beowulf over and over again, or helping him accomplish his tasks.